Hi everybody, it's Becca. It's So Darn Twisted. If you are joining me for the first time, then hi, welcome to the channel. If you're a regular or just somebody returning for the first time, then thank you very much for coming back. So today, some of you may remember, if you're on my groups, that I did a sketch, one of my crazy brain sketches the other day, because I had an idea for something. So I sketched it out and I threw a sketch up in the groups and I said, you know, it will become something at some point, but this is what the inside of my brain looks like. If you want to have a little look at what the inside of my brain looks like, here you go. So now that we've cleared that up, this is the result of that sketch. So what it is it's a happy mail folder. Now I wanted to make something that I could send out some bits and pieces, and for something that somebody could actually use as well. I haven't decorated this one at all. I've been busy doing other things, mainly designing a new digi-kit. But this folder has, as you can see here, it has a little space that's like a removable paper clip up here, and it has space for storing your, you know, your 6x6 pieces. And I've just thrown stuff in here, by the way. This is not being sent to anybody, so it's a really random load of everything, but this is just for like demo purposes. So yeah, I wanted a space that was big enough for you to fit 6x6 papers in whole and keep them nice and clean down the edges and stuff like that, plus tuck any other bigger bits into there as well. Then I popped a long expanding pocket in here for, you know, longer thick bookmarks, longer tags, you know, bits of lace, you know, strips of lace, anything really. You can put anything you want into it. These were just my thoughts when I made it, and for some reason I cannot. There we go. And then I've got another one of those down here that also expands, that you can obviously put sort of slightly bulkier things in, you know, because it expands. And again, I've just popped some random bits in just to show you. And then on the side, on the other side, we have 3 expanding pockets. So my thoughts here were, you know, like when you try to send a bag of charms and things all end up bunched up at one end of the envelope, and then you go to push it through the little slot to make sure it's within the right size, and you find that it won't be now because all this stuff's just bunched up one end of your envelope, and you've tried paper clipping it to things. But I thought, well, if you had a little sort of place there where that can't sort of move around, you know, then that would be ideal. And again, sort of, you know, just for shoving bits and pieces of ephemera into. So yeah, I said I would do a tutorial on it, so this is going to be your tutorial. And of course, what I've done here is I've just used jewelry leather cord, you know, yeah, jewelry making cord to tie it with. But obviously you can tie yours with anything. You can add closures, like in the recent tutorial video I did that had the sort of different methods of closures on the front. You could use any one of those, you know, but for this one I just thought, you know what, something I can just tie would be great. And obviously you can decorate yours however you want, or you can leave it and let your swap partner, happy mail recipient even, swap it. I've just realised I meant to have wrapped that around, because I kind of liked the idea at the time, but then forgot about it completely. So yeah, I've just kind of done this with the jewelry cord, and you can obviously decorate yours, you know, however. You could even sort of add charms along the length of the cord, which is something I would probably do if I hadn't just been making something just to go around it for the tutorial, you know. If I was to actually have thought about it in any more detail, then you could absolutely hang charms off of that bit as well. So yeah, I haven't decorated the back of this one, but you know, if I was one that was actually sending out to people, I probably would decorate the back as well, you know. But I mean, they're probably not going to look at the back, I dare say. They're going to be more interested on what's on the inside. So I will now talk you through the very basic tools and materials, because this is doable as a beginner. Don't feel like it's going to be completely out of your remit, because I know it looks kind of involved, but you'll be absolutely fine. I promise, I've got you. Okay, first things first, you're going to want your card that you're going to use for the base and some paper with which to decorate it. Now, for the example one, I used some quite sort of rigid card. It's just craft card, but it was just kind of like 2 or 220 GSM. It was quite thick, quite heavy, but today, because of the colour scheme I fancy doing today, I'm going to use this card, which is slightly less. I think this is about 180 GSM. I'm sorry, I don't know about pound measurements. You'll have to Google that one. But you want something that's obviously like not really thin and flimsy. It's got a little bit of, you know, sort of weight to it. So exact weights probably won't matter that much, you know. So I'm just going to use this ivory card that I have. And then I've just got some paper. So you're going to need those. Paper trimmer comes as standard, or ruler, pencil, some scissors, craft knife, you know, a pull down guillotine, whatever you've got to cut it with is fine. You're going to want some glue, bone folder, or just, you know, anything with a smooth but a sharp rounded edge. Smooth and sharp don't relate you, but yeah, a smooth rounded but still sharp edge for giving your nice bit of bone folding. You can use a credit or debit, you know, expired card, loyalty card, anything like that. I'm going to go with some light ink today. This is Toffee Crunch, because it works really, really nicely on that cream card. I've got my notch punch here. If, like a lot of people, and myself included, you're used to, you know, using the circle punch and you're trying to get the right sort of angle to get it out, and then you've got to try and match it if you can't fit it all in one go to punch through it. This takes all of the hassle out of that, trust me. I've also got something to tie off the front. I'm going to use this cute little ribbon that I have here that's just got, like, you know, with love on it, because I think if it's going out in happy mail, that's kind of nice, right? So yeah, I'm going to use that. Okay, so I think that about covers it. Now, if you're obviously, if you want to decorate it, which I might do some decoration on the front, but you're looking at things like lace, you know, for this kind of style that I'm doing for this one. Obviously it depends on what you're doing, but you know, lace, ribbon, metallic embellishments, you know, whatever you feel like, sentiments, flowers, you do what you like, you know. But yeah, they're the kind of things, if I do decorate this, it depends on how I get on today as to whether or not I decorate it or not. Sometimes I really just don't have the energy to do it, and I'd rather get the tutorial out to you guys and then you can just choose how you decorate yours. Sorted. Okay, let's get rolling. Oh, and I forgot to say, you're also going to need some split pins, or you can use the eyelet method that I showed in my last video about doing eyelet closures on things, but I'm going to be using these split pins. I think you call them brads in the States, etc. So yeah, I'll be using 4 of those as well, and a paper clip. So yeah, we'll get those mentioned. Now we can get going. The measurements for this and the pieces are in sections. So this piece is one section and these 2 are separate sections. The reason for that being that because of the size I wanted it to be, to allow for this, meant that you couldn't get it out of a 30 centimetre 12 by 12, you know, piece. So yeah, sorry about that. So you have to do it in pieces, but all of the measurements will be written down for you on the screen in both centimetres and inches, to you guys know how much trouble I had trying to convert the last one to be inches as well, because it's like, you know, 7/16 of an inch or something. I was brought up using inches, but now for the life of me it makes no sense to me at all. It was terrible. Right, okay, so let's get that out of the way there. So this first piece is going to be 16.5 by 24.5 centimeters. So I'm going to do the 24.5 along there, and then we're going to use the 16.5, which is there. My paper trimmer needs new blades so badly, but it's not coming until at some point today, which could mean like, you know, 10 o'clock tonight, but I'm just going to have to just use scissors to tidy up any rough edges. But you know that thing where it just starts, you know, giving you ragged edges whether you want them or not. So yeah, so that's going to be our base piece there. Then the next piece, which is going to be our left flap, which is the narrower one. Obviously you can do them whichever way around you prefer. I'm just recreating that exact one because that makes sense in my head. And again, most of this is going to be at 24.5 for the main pieces, for obviously because they're all the same depth. So I'm just going to just taking chunks out of everything, but that's okay, I'll put those at the score lines. And then this one is going to be 9.5 centimeters this way. And then we're going to do some scoring, which is why I say it's a good job, because it means I can hide the rough edges. So first of all, we're going to get that out of the way so I don't end up accidentally cutting. Don't judge me. Okay, so 0.5 centimetre is going to be our first score line, and then we're going to take it up to the 1.5 centimetre mark. Okay, and what that does is that gives us a gutter here, and that is for the sides here, so that when you pack it out with things, it doesn't really bulge and distort. It can accommodate that, so you can fit a bit more in without worrying. So yeah, so that's that one, and we're going to do another one exactly the same. So again, this is still at the 24.5, I hope. Yeah, I have to think about that then. Oh my god. And then we're going to cut this right flap is going to be 11.5, which is so close. I'm not even really going to bother changing that. That's like 11.6, so that's fine, it will do. Obviously the measurements aren't crucial apart from the height anyway. If you want bigger, you know, if you want more of a crossover, that's absolutely fine. I wouldn't recommend doing less, because as you fill it you might find you end up with a gap down the middle. So I would recommend the measurements I've got as like your sort of minimum measurements really. But you can absolutely make it wider on both of them should you want to. So that's fine. So yeah, I'm going to leave that one, and I'm just going to do the scoring, which again is 0.5 centimetre, and then over to the 1.5 centimetre mark. So then you have that 1 centimetre gutter there. Okay, so that's your base and your two sides ready. Okay, let's say it is beginner friendly, it does come together in no time at all. So now for the left pocket, and you can use off-cut pieces, which is really useful for these. So this one is again going to be the 24.5, and this one is going to be 7.5 centimeters. Oh, I didn't quite go through it there, did I? Okay, so that is your your left pocket. Then for your left pocket flap, again, you can utilise scraps at this point. If I had some that were actually the right, yep, that's at 20, that's plenty. Okay, so this one needs to be at the 24.5 by 4.5. So 24 by 24.5 by 4.5. Oh my god, Becca, use your words. I feel like the goblins in Labyrinth, you know, use your right words. Okay, so that is now the flat pocket for that. You might find it easier to just get yourself a little paper clip, you know, and clip bits like this together so that you know what's for what, you know, if you find it a little bit much, you know. It's fine. Okay, so if you dig out your left pocket flap, and then that is the envelope for that flap. Okay, so that's fine and dandy. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the center envelope pocket that goes down the bottom of the middle one. So that one, where is some card? We need this one to be 16.5 by 8. Okay, so let's get ourselves 16.5 there. And then we'll cut that to 8. If you want to go just slightly under on those measurements, you know, feel free. If you want to make it so that, you know, there's a little bit of a gap between your pocket and where your papers sit, you know, that kind of thing, feel free. That kind of thing, you know, is entirely up to you. This is really just the process and the components. You can adjust any measurements like that to suit, you know, what you need. So once we've got that pocket, we now need the flap. So again, that's going to be at the same width, and that's going to be 3.5 centimeters wide. And then we're going to score that at 0.5 centimeter. Fantastic. So that will be the closing flap for that. So I will put that with my back piece, and then I know that that is that. And you guys, I did make a mistake. The left flap is actually supposed to be, the left pocket flap is supposed to be 5, not 4.5. That's totally on me, but it will be right in the measurement that I put up. I will make sure that I correct that. Right, now we'll get there. So that was the 24.5 by 5. And then we're going to score that at the 0.5 centimeter mark, which I'm better off doing down this end because then I can kick that one out the way. Okay. Right, now that's right. So we'll get rid of that bit. Okay. So we now have the left flap and pocket. We have the center and the center pocket. So now we're going to make the 3 pockets that sit down here. So for those, we are going to want, as I say, 3 of those at 10 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters. Okay, so let's get that to 10 centimeters there. And then 9.5. And we don't have to worry about scoring allowance on these. Yay! I'm probably going to have to cut, and yeah, I'm definitely going to have to cut another piece for that, but that's fine because that's what straps are for, to fill in the gaps. Okay, so that's my 3 pockets. And we'll just shove that one up the back there, turn that around the right way. There we go, lovely. So now we have our side pockets as well. Fantastic. So that then is all of your component parts are now done. Okay, so, and these you can space them so that the top one sits right at the top, but I tend to bring it down a little bit so you've still got room to pull out anything that overhangs the top of the pocket without it hanging out over here. So yeah, that I find is a better way of doing that. So now we're going to cut the paper that you're going to cover all the panels with. Okay, so we'll just put those to one side for a minute, keeping them nicely grouped. I forgot the paper clip. We might as well cut the paper clip now, it's because I've got it at the end, you know, in my notes, so might as well cut it while we cut the rest of the base pieces though. So this one is going to be 5 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So nice and easy. Okay, fabulous. Right, so for for the paper that goes on the base at the back, this is going to be 15.5 square, which actually I wanted to have the more interesting side, so I'm going to do it that way. So we're just going to, and then that way, nice and easy. See, I told you it was easy, didn't I? Right. Okay, so that's the back piece done. Then for the left flap front, this one is going to be 7 by 23.5. Okay, so let's get that to 7. And then that way 23.5. Knock that out of the way because we don't need that there. Now for the right flap, this one is going to be 9 by 23.5. So let's get that there. 9 and 23.5. Fabulous. Okay, so that's those done. Now inside we're going to go and do the left pocket, which, where's the paper for that one? So this is going to be 24.5. No, sorry, it's not. It's going to be 23.5. All of these will be a centimetre shorter than the initial measurement of the base card. It's just I am clearly not having a working brain today. Okay, so let's so that's 23.5 by 9. No, 23.5 by 6.5. Lovely. And then left pocket flap, 23.5, which that should still, yeah. I constantly have to check these, it drives me crazy. And this one will be by 3.5. And I'm going to do the paper for the middle pocket, which is going to be 15.5, which I have to do up there because it only has past 12 up there. And that's going to be 7 centimetres. And then you're going to do the flap for that one, which again is going to be the 15.5, and that should be by 2 centimetres, so we can get that out of here. How amazing is that? I love it when you can use up the smaller pieces. It's possibly why I did it that measurement. I don't actually remember that, you know, I've slept since then. Okay, so that is now the left pocket and the middle pocket panels. So now it's the right hand side pocket panels, and they are going to be at 9 by 8.5. So let's get that. There we go, 9 by 8.5. So I need 2 more that are 9. Oops, there we go. By 8.5. Okay. Would you believe that that is the bulk of the work done? I know. See? Told you it wasn't huge. Okay, so now we need to cut the piece for the paper clip as well. So again, we'll squirrel around in the scraps there, see what we've got. because this one needs to be 4 centimetres by 9 centimetres. So that's a nice piece there. We'll have that one. I'll cut it at the 9 first to leave the width of the rest of it alone. I wasn't very good at my layout management when I was doing these papers. Normally I sort of look at how I can fit the, you know, the most out of each sheet of paper. But I thought, well, what I don't use here, I'm going to use in a masterboard, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Plus there's bits I can make pockets and all manner of other bits and pieces out of, so it's not like it's strictly going to waste in any way. Okay, so that's all of those, including the paper clip now, that are done. All right, so now we're going to cut the little expanders that, let me show you what I mean, that go on the sides of here and here and here. So, dead easy to do. Now, you can save yourself some effort by scoring these before you cut them. Now I recommend, oh, I've only got one sheet there, there's a reason for that. I recommend using heavier weight paper rather than thin copy paper, because you need it to have some resilience. You don't want it to tear, but also you don't want it to add a huge amount of bulk, so it will just keep popping everything open even when you're trying to close it. So you'll think kind of, you know, nicer book paper thickness. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to score it all the way down at 1/2 centimetre. Okay, then you're going to move it along to 1.5 centimetres, then 2.5 centimetres, and then cut it at 3 centimetres. Yes, that's the thing, cut it at 3 centimetres. And you're going to want to do a couple of these because you're going to need a fair few. So we'll go 1/2 centimetre, 1.5 centimetres, 2.5 centimetres, and then cut at 3 centimetres. Okay, I think we're probably going to need one more of those, but even if I don't need it for this one, I'll need it for something. So okay, by now you guys should have this down to a pat, as we call it. Right, now I probably need another strip as well, if I'm perfectly honest, but you know, we'll see how we get on here because my brain is not doing automatic measurement today. So you're going to want to have 6 of these at 7 centimetres. Okay, so we'll take that, 7 centimetres, fabulous. So that's 3, and then another one, and we're good to go at 6. This saves individually cutting each piece to size and then scoring it. Believe me, that way is not good time management. Okay, now we're going to want 4 of them to be at the same width, 3 centimetres, but only 6 centimetres. So yeah, I was right, I do need another strip, but that's absolutely fine. Annoyingly, for 1 more. But that's okay. Let's get that one out the way. Okay, so we can get rid of that now. So now what we're going to get down to is the clipping out of the corners of everything and inking everything. So what I like to do for this part is I like to lay out all the component parts with their counterpart paper decorative bit thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. 2 reasons for that. One is it stops you from getting confused, overwhelmed with all these different pieces, but second of all, it makes it much easier when it comes to clipping out corners and things like that, because you can just put them together and do them that way. So it saves time and effort, and you know that you've got everything nicely matching, so when that sort of, you know, when you've got that in place, it's just going to sit right, you know. So yeah, 2 reasons for that, and that is them both. So we're going to go ahead and clip out all of the corners for all of these pieces. what I also do is when I'm doing the notches for pockets, I will do the same thing. I will line that up nicely central, but with the two tops meeting, get my notch punch, and these are easy to eyeball, so I don't really worry about measuring the middle of these. There we go. So, and I just punch down that way. So again, when you line that up nicely, it's not going to be, you know, kind of all on the squiff. It'll be sitting nice and in the center. You can, of course, always do multiples at the same time so that you know that they're all in the same place lining up. It depends on how fussed you are about that as well, really, I suppose. So yeah, and when it comes to the edges that have got scoring along them, what I always do, that's why I don't care that I've gone through this bit, I always cut those at a bit of an angle anyway, like so you're not going to see that part regardless. We're just gonna, because that way when it's folded up and you've got this bit behind, you know, you're not getting any accidental overspill or anything, so I just find that works really nicely to do that way. So what I will do now is I will get to inking everything, you know, all the component parts, both the base parts and the decorative papers. So I'm not gonna go mad, you know, explaining inking to you guys, because obviously I don't need to. What I am doing is just on this one, because of the nature of the colour scheme that I'm using and so on, I'm not really sort of aging it massively. I'm just creating a little bit of depth, just by sort of kissing around the edge, you know. This is the time for me when, you know, doing the dab comes into play, when I just want just that little bit of an edge there. So, you know, I'll be doing that on all of the parts. But talking of, you know, not needing to talk you guys through things, it's just, I am just going to leave this running for a minute while I say something that's on my mind. And I know, you know, I'm really serious on my channel, you guys know that, so you're going to have to excuse me on this one occasion that I am going to get a bit serious. It's purely that I wanted to say that I admin on, as you know, various groups on Facebook. Yeah, great, okay, and I absolutely love doing so, and everybody is so nice, you know, well, almost everybody, because I've had to deal with, well, I didn't have to deal with, but I felt that I should deal with comments that were made towards a lady who was asking a question about something that she did not know. You know, it was regards to how to use a particular tool, and she didn't know. She said she was a complete beginner, so, you know, straight away there, that's fair enough. You're a beginner, of course you don't know everything. Did any of us know everything when we very first started out in any craft or anything ever? You know, you don't see a chef going, well, oh yes, of course I knew everything about cooking and how to use all of the equipment the minute I decided to do it. Rubbish. So, you know, we all started somewhere, and 99% of people were so helpful, so lovely, and, you know, sort of told her exactly how to use this piece of equipment, gave her a couple of little extra tips and tricks and the like, you know, and that's all kind of fabulous. But there were a couple who were just like really disparaging, and, you know, I'm not going to say what they said, but it was, you know, just being very snooty. One was only a couple of words, and it was still enough to know that, you know, that was unnecessary, because it doesn't help, it doesn't add anything to the conversation when all you're doing is being haughty about the fact that you obviously know. You might be somebody who actually struggles with learning things and new things and taking in information. You might, you know, you might not be a visual learner, you might need to see something written down. There are all different types, different ways that we learn. So I felt it wholly unnecessary for somebody to make those, you know, comments at somebody who'd stated that they were a beginner, and I just deleted the comments. And you know, 'cause I think we are in a society now, and especially in a community such as ours, where, you know, being nice, it costs nothing, but it means everything to be kind. So that's the serious stuff out of the way. As I say, it doesn't happen often, and you'll know if I do, it's because it's something I feel very strongly about. So, you know, and I do feel strongly about people being mean for no reason, you know, other than just to be mean. So to the rest of you who are always so lovely and so helpful whenever people ask questions in the community and that, you know, you ladies are, and gentlemen, sorry, I'm not leaving you out there, but you ladies are fabulous, and I love you all so much. You guys literally rock. So I love you, and now I'm going to go and I'm going to carry on inking all of this, and you guys can sit there and, you know, go, oh God, what's she moaning about? Right, so my camera had a glitch and decided to not record this part. However, it's fine because I've still got to do pretty much exactly the same on this piece here with regard to the split pins and the panels and all sorts, you know, and the expanding sides and everything, so it's fine. So basically I'm going to just go through that again for this side, which I would have said to you guys, just do the exact same thing again on this side, but you know, I can't do that. So I'm going to show you and then say when you come to do this part, you do it the same way. So we're going to do this side then, and I will show you how to do it while the video is actually running this time. I don't know what happened, I really don't. So I've glued on my front piece of decorative paper onto this here front cover. So what we're going to do is we are going to glue this in place, this panel this side. Let's get that over there out of the way a little for a minute. I can't remember what I was even saying to you guys while I was doing the other piece. Oh, the joys, oh, the joys. Okay, so keep away from the very edges because you don't want glue to seep out. I'm trying to be a little bit careful with how much glue I use on this paper because it's quite thin, which is great for lack of bulk. I got sent this in, I think it was either a rack or a swap, one or the other. I got sent it, you know, and I absolutely loved it, and if I'd thought about it, I would have used it in the big box journal I just made because it's the same design papers, but I completely forgot about it because I don't know about you guys, but I've just got a box of just random paper, you know, of all different types, and I'd completely forgotten to put it in with the stuff. I do separate things by theme, but at first everything just goes into a big box and then I sort through it. Things that I've been sent or things I need to do something with, and it just kind of sits there to one side until I go, I'm sick of the sight of that now, I'm going to sort it out. Which is usually about like once a week maybe, you know, I'm fairly good. Okay, so the other thing that I'd mentioned was you're going to need either you're going to need either a circle punch or something to draw a circle and cut out, and then I just inked around the edges of that. Then I used the pokey tool, the Crafter's Companion pokey tool. I eyeballed the centre because I couldn't be bothered to measure, and you'll need 4 of those in total, 2 for this one and 2 for this one. Now, when doing this one, I did say the very best way to find your centre point is to get yourself something that has a flat squared edge even, and go down the middle of your notch, make sure you're flat against the bottom, mark out your 2 points, and you know where to put your split pins. So I'm gonna use this. I just have, yeah, it's one of those where because it's long, it's a bit too much to try and use the really thin tip nozzle. So I need to use the fat tip and just be very, very careful that I don't lay too much glue down, because when the paper is thin like this, it can cause sort of, you know, lumps and stuff when it's quick dry glue like this one is, which is what I use for most things card related. So we're just going to pop that down and pull it into place. I used to be much better at eyeballing the middle of things, but lately my vision's gone. I keep getting muscle spasms, and I'm just like, I'm trying to put something on, and all of a sudden my hand just goes, and I'm like, oh, that's great, thanks, you know. Ruined that then. That's useful. So we're going to take our side piece, which is, it was right here, but I couldn't see it for looking. And then we are going to use the thin nozzled glue now, and we're just going to kind of go along this. Try not to use too much again, and then you can either just use like a piece of card or your finger or something to just kind of distribute it a little bit, just so that it's not seeping everywhere. Line it up with the top and your first corner, and then push it along to your other corner and give that a really good push down. I find that using the sort of tip end of my bone folder is really useful for that kind of thing, because it doesn't mess up the score line or anything by flattening it out. But it's just wonderful for just pushing along those edges. Right, so the important thing with these is that you don't glue this on until you have your split pin in place, because can you imagine trying to fit it, you know, once this is already glued on and you've got about that much gap to work with, you know, you can't even get a finger in there. So yeah, you need to make sure you do that first. But what I like to do is line it up with your sides so you know it's central, and we're going to do the same thing again. It's just that this one won't be fixed this time, so you just have to make sure that you don't shove it out of the way. Where is my ruler? There is my ruler. I should use a set square, it would make it easier, but I don't know where I've put my set square. So we're going to just kind of line up the middle of that notch and just make sure that the flat edge here is lined up with your flat edge there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to make a little mark, kind of 2.5 centimeters or something, 2 centimeters probably, I don't know, I've actually got a ruler right here. 1.5 centimeters, there you go, about there. And you're going to put one here about, you know, about 3/4 of an inch, 2 centimeters off the bottom. Okay, then you are going to get your little pokey tool here. You can use an awl, you can use a punch, as long as it only punches a small hole, because what you don't want is a hole that's so big that these are sliding around. You want the hole to be just big enough to get them in, you know, and if you have to give it a little bit of a push to get them through, that's fine. So then you know that that hole is big enough. And then we're going to do the same here, and we're just gonna, oh, there we go through, that's it. And then that's fabulous. That should be big enough as well. Yes. Okay, we're cruising now, guys. So now your little punched out circles that I've just inked lightly around the edges of. I always forget about mentioning the circles for this kind of thing. Whenever I'm doing a project that requires them, I almost always forget to mention these kind of things. Right, so we're going to just kind of push it down and then lay it flat and just give it a little push. Doesn't need a lot, like the tiniest little push is all it needs, just to help flatten it off. And then the other one, couldn't find where I'd left that split pin then. So we're going to pop that in and do the same thing, but the only difference is with the inside piece, with this, when things are going to be sort of being put against it, I recommend that you get some washi tape and just put a piece of thick washi across it. And the reason for this is that it stops things getting caught on the metal edge, because when you try to put things in the pockets, you know, ordinary things are going to end up catching. So, you know, there's nothing for that to catch on, but for that, you know, you're going to end up butting against it all the time. So it's just one of those things it's worth doing. Any kind of, I do the same with eyelets, you know, that kind of thing. So right, so we've got that there. Now we need the last two of the shorter ones, the 6 centimeter ones that that we cut. I've used 2 of those short ones obviously for on here. So we're going to fold it down the middle and just give it a light press. Then we're going to fold in the opposite direction the 2 smaller pieces, the 1/2 centimeter sides, and we're going to fold those away from each other so that from the front you'll have that. Okay, and then just get your bone folder and just give it, as I say, a little press. Fabulous. Do that for both of those. You can ink these, but you know, realistically you don't need to, because you're not really going to see them at any point, because I recessed them. You know, they're not sitting right at the edge of the pocket, and there is a couple of reasons for that that I'll go over with you as we do this part. So there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue these with the long side, so the piece that you can still see sticking out, that's going to face inwards. Okay, so we're going to get the thin nozzle, and we're just going to blob, and again just kind of distribute, spread it rather than overload it, because you don't want it seeping out and sticking to, you know, to this bit, which will stop it from expanding. So keep that. And then what I do with these is, having my little decorative corners are a godsend here, because I literally line up the corner of that and that, and I will bring that up closer to the camera to show you in a hot second. But there we go. So because I'm using this little, my punch acts as my guide, but if you're just using a regular round corner one, just line it up with where the corner starts, the bend starts to happen, and you'll get the same thing. And the reason I recess this is twofold. One, so that you make sure that it's never going to come out across. If you've just got like a rounded corner or something, that's not going to stick out around it. And the other thing is, it won't get any wear and tear, it won't be getting caught on the edges of anything, you know, while it's being used. More so for the side, the 3 side pockets, you know, because if they're sticking right to the very edge, they're going to end up getting caught on things. So I just bring them in that little bit for that reason. So we've got that one in, and then once that's down, make sure that you're not stuck down with this bit as well. Get your bone folder and just give that a good push. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you glue it, how good your glue is, how thorough you are, sometimes it will still come unstuck. This has happened to me twice. Once during a tutorial, that was convenient, and the other time was when I'd received something and I went to pull it open and it just came away. So it's like, honestly, it just happens. But we try to be as thorough as we can. So again, just lining that up and giving it a nice little push down, and then the bone folder again, Another good thing about doing it that way is if any of the glue seeps out the back side of it, it's not going to come out past the edge of the pocket either. So that's useful, right? Okay, so now that we have those, we're going to stick that on. Let me turn that the right way round. We're going to stick that on to the inside of here. You can put a strip of washi tape across here if you wanted to hide that as well. That's up to you. You can also run a line of ink around the inside of the pocket flaps. I did on the previous one, I forgot to do it on this one. It doesn't really matter. All right, let's get this one glued down in exactly the right position, shall we? So again, just giving that a bit of a sweep around. So the last thing you want to do is like glue it to itself, because then you can't open it properly. So we're just gonna do the same there. Oh, precision work. Am I the only one that, like, when you have to do something precise, like you just shut down? You're just like, wait up, I'm not doing anything else. So I'm going to turn that towards me actually, because then I can line that up in roughly the right position there, and then I can hold both of those and flump. Fabulous. Give it a little wiggle and we're good to go. That's it. Can you make sure I keep it up above the score line, because that helps. Then what I tend to do is, just to be sure that I haven't glued anything to itself, I kind of stick card down each side of that, you see, like that, so that I know it's in place. And then I'm just going to run a thin line of glue along that bottom edge. You can do that line as well first, but sometimes, especially when you're just starting out, it can be messy. You end up with you spreading it all over everything because you're trying to judge where to line it up and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, and if you have to fidget it around a little bit, before you know it, you've suddenly got glue over absolutely everything. So yeah, easier way of doing it right there. And then we're just going to kind of burnish that along with the bone folder, just to make sure that the glue is sticking everywhere. Fantastic. So that is now this side pocket complete as well. So we now have this, as you can imagine. The other side is even easier, because the other side does not require the use of split pins or circles or anything. This side is joyous because all it requires is glue. So let's get that on there. Whoops. Now I will say, like, you can obviously expand on how many pockets and, you know, things like that, but just do be aware that the point of these is to fill them with things. So I've tried to kind of find a balance between, you know, how many places it has to put things, and the fact that it is actually then going to be filled with stuff as well. So, you know, just do bear that in mind if you do decide to expand on it, which, as you know, I love it when people say, oh, you know, I took your tutorial and I did that, but I also changed this or I added that. And I think, great, you've taken that and you've made it your own. That's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, just be aware that that you will need to bear that in mind. Okay, so obviously same thing as before with the little expandy parts. We're just going to get all of those folded up. I've just been reminded that the other day, one of my lovely friends, Marion, she's such a sweetheart. If you're watching, hi Marion, I love you. She messaged me and she said, I've just had a thought, why don't you start your own group? And I was like, I have a group. The problem is that I don't talk about it. because I don't like to talk about it in other people's groups, even ones that I admin. Like, you know, I don't know, I just don't talk about my group. And so the only place that I would really talk about it is in my own group and on my social media, like my YouTube channel. But it's never really occurred to me. Like, I put my links, you know, in at the end of all my videos and everything, but it's never ever occurred to me to actually mention the fact that, yes, I have a Facebook group. So it is called, I'm going to just show you guys, well, I would if it was there. There you go. That is my, I've got glue all over my phone screen, like, you're going to have to ignore it. But yeah, so Sew Darn Twisted Junk Journal Tutorials and Free Printables. You'll recognise it because it's got my logo. But yeah, it's where I post obviously any freebies that I do. I post the tutorials, I post what do you call it, things in progress, you know, and I post stuff that is made and available as well. So yeah, but mostly it's about the free printables and the tutorials. So feel free to get yourself over there. The funniest part of the whole thing is the fact that Marion is already a member of my group. She's just completely forgotten, which I thought was fantastic. Marion, you make me laugh so much. You are by far one of my favourite people that I have met through the group. So let's now attach the side panels to the back. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to glue along this part rather than the tab at the scored edge, because it's a lot less fiddly to do it on this part. And if you get a little bit of overlap on the back, it doesn't matter really. But you know, you could also cover it with another piece of paper if you didn't want to see the drawing. That would be fine. So we're going to lay that out flat. So this is the piece that we're attaching, just that thin piece there. And we're just going to line that up roughly in place, so we can then flip it over and just make sure that everything is lined up on that axis as well. Superb. So now that can just sit there, do its happy little thing, and do the same this side. And that's what I'm going to do onto this one and this one. Making it probably trickier, so you know, there we go. So I'm gonna line it up that way and gauge my line. That's it. And then I can just slide that around. So it helps if you've got like an edge of something, you can just kind of butt it against, you know, along here. I just use the edge of my desk. And then just make sure that you're not over your other score line. Super. There we go. The next thing you're going to want is some cotton, or, you know, some thin, like, embroidery floss, you know, all the kind of thing you normally use for that. So I've got some embroidery thread here that, funny enough, this is the absolute perfect colour, and this was sent to me the other day by one of the lovely ladies in the groups. So it's fabulous, because it is exactly the kind of colour I would have looked for in my tub, because it just ties in beautifully. It's kind of like a sort of champagne colour, so it just works really, really nicely. So all you're going to do is you're going to go under one of the discs there. If you've seen my video on closures, which is just a couple of videos back, you'll already know how to do this bit anyway, but if you haven't, here's a recap. So we're just going to tie a little knot in there and just pull it nice and tightly underneath. And then usually I don't bother tying a second knot, if I'm honest, but if you want to, tie a second knot. And then we're just going to trim off the bit that's sticking out of there, like so. And then we're just going to grab hold of this, get it under there, and just wind it round to that. I know that that's long enough then, and then I'll just kind of trim that off. You know, you can make it a bit shorter, but sometimes it's easier if there's a little bit more length there to enable you to hold it while you're pulling it open. I always thought it looked better with shorter pieces, so it looked tidier, but then you think, yeah, but, you know, that's fashion over function right there, isn't it? You know, impractical, but it looks nice. Okay, so we're just going to do the exact same thing on this one. And then all that's left to do is the paper clip, which will take a matter of seconds because everything is prepped for it, because we did all that in the first stage. So again, that's on there nicely. Sometimes when you use the discs of card, sometimes you just have to kind of go round it with your fingertip a couple of times just to lift it away enough for you to sort of get some. Once you've done it once or twice, it's fine, but sometimes you just need to have that that little bit of a lip to work with first, like that one. It's just being a little bit stubborn. So there we go. And then again, give that a trim. That bit's all done. How lovely is that? Now for this, I'm using my incredibly quick and easy method of making a concealed paper clip. And the best reason for using concealed paper clips of this type is that because they don't catch. Because yes, I could just put a paper clip inside that, but then everything you try to push up against it, and every time you try to push it against here, it's going to catch on the edge of the paper clip. So concealed is dandy. So all we're going to do is fold that in half, like so. If you want to get a little bit of ink around your top, around the side pieces, the middle doesn't really matter, it's going to be covered in a minute. Then you're going to get some glue. Sorry, you're going to get your paper clip first, and then position it sort of as close to the middle as you can eyeball it. Get your glue and make sure you get a good amount of glue around the area that the paper clip meets the card, and then just, you know, a bit around the edges there, and just do the same this side. So again, you're not drowning it, you're just making sure there's plenty of coverage there, you know. Okay, super. Then you are going to take your piece of paper or whatever you're using there, and you're going to fold that over the top, down the other side, and then we're just going to give it a goodly smush. This is my technical term for today, a goodly smush. Just want a little bit more ink on that bit. Leave that to dry, and I mean, you can stick it on here now, there's no reason why not, because nothing that it touches is going to be affected. Oh, that needs a little bit more glue down the top of that, clearly. I do like to make sure that those things are covered. But oh, I'll just put a bit over the actual paper as well, will I? Okay, let's try that again. So, oh, I apologise, I've got the shakes today. Right, there we go. It's done. It's done. Now all you've got to do is, you know, fill it with things and decorate it. So like I said earlier on, you can, I don't actually have things to hand, but you know, you're going to put all the things that you want on here, and you're just going to pop open your little paper clip there, and away you go, you know, and that's going to hold them nicely. They're not going to shift around during the posting adventure. I could not find the word I needed then. Posting adventure. There we go. So yeah, I hope, as always, guys, I hope you have enjoyed watching this, and you know, and making your own one. As I said, for this one, I'm probably, I was going to try to decorate it on camera, but in all honesty, I don't think I can today. Things are getting the better of me a little bit right now, so it's time to quit. But I will just be putting that around, you know, just finishes it off nicely, and I'll be decorating it with all manner of things. But this is just for you guys to make your own happy mail folders. Enjoy, leave me a comment, subscribe if you liked it, give me a thumbs up, always appreciate those, as you guys know, and in the meantime, happy crafting.